Hey everybody, Adam Savage, and I am having the best time here. I am at the National Park Service Museum Conservation Labs in West Virginia with Casey here. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning.
How are you? We are looking at badges. Dude, tell me what this is going on here.
Yes, so this is a sample from the badge collection that's a part of the NPS history collection. So our badge collection encompasses over 240 badges.
Okay.
So we've pulled a sampling here that kind of tells the main chronological story. And surprisingly, it dates back all the way to around 1895.
That's what I was going to ask. How long does this collection, what length does this represent? So these are back pre-1900.
So these are our two earliest ones, and that's really interesting because the National Park Service itself was founded in 1916 with the Organic Act. So we do have badges that go before that. These two early ones in the late 19th century, these are both from Gettysburg, but you see that also in Yellowstone and in Sequoia, where you have badged personnel in the early parks.
So Gettysburg was a visitable park only 3 decades or so after the Civil War.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Actually, yes, yeah. And this one you can see is specifically for a battlefield guide.
Right.
Well, this badge is for a marshal.
Amazing.
So they're also at that point even differentiating between the different badges there.
Also, a really subtle choice of color there. That is beautiful teal.
Yeah, so those ones are really exciting to always show because they kind of are a little bit different and unexpected as they predate the Park Service itself. And then that kind of brings us to the next one, which is quite interesting because it says both National Park Service and Department of the Interior, but again predates the legislation of the National Park Service.
Okay, so there was a thing that we called the National Park Service before there was a National Park Service. Was that sort of what people referred to as the loose amalgam of things we thought of like that?
Yes, it was very much the concept that then becomes the National Park Service. So there's a good period of the movement where there's a lot of advocacy to create the National Park Service, and you're starting to already see the terminology in that point.
I love that culturally, because we look back at our history books and we're like, well, they started in 1916, but culturally, that was just the end point of a movement towards this.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's always a neat story to share. So this is 1906, so 10 years before. And then we move on to our first official badge for the National Park Service. So we have the first uniform standards in 1920. So we're actually now 4 years past the legislation. So there's a little bit of space in between there.
Where they're figuring out how they want everyone to look, how they want to present.
Yep. And so the badges come in with that first 1920 standard. Amazing. And it really begins, you can see the continuity up through present day. We're going to get into what they're made out of, but one visually silver and visually gold colored. And then also one of each color in the shield shape badge.
And are these from about the same time?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yep. So they were already different badge standards.
Exactly. In the beginning, in 1920, the gold is for the director of the National Park Service and assistant directors. And then this guy's for superintendents. Okay. Assistant superintendents. Gold shield would be chief and assistant chief rangers, and then you have rangers with the silver shield. So
they're following very much a military insignia type of thing where your rank is very recognizable from a distance based on its parameters. And
then it's interesting, as the story goes on, you have more of a story of equality. So those kind of fall out. The first one to go is having the director and wearing the badge. You then see the small round gold badge move on to just superintendents. And then you see the silver round shift to assistant superintendents. The rangers hang on to the same designation, but eventually the gold phases out and all rangers wear the silver shield. And you move forward, we have some examples here too, because the U.S. Park Police is part of the National Park Service. So you get law enforcement badges as well.
Right, okay.
So we have some early examples here.
That is so cool.
And that's a special police badge. So the special police are interesting because they are commissioned in 1924 by the department, but they become a part of the National Park Service in 1934 and join the U.S. Park Police.
I'll tell you what I'm just going to contrast to. This is what I think old badges look like, right? That's what my head says. And that this predates this by a couple of decades is amazing because this feels so modern.
How different. Yeah.
It feels, it's really, really neat, these design changes over time.
And then we'll talk about the larger version of this one later on, but this is actually a cap badge. So you would have one that wears on your chest and one that wears on your hat.
Gotcha.
Yep, and then you kind of still see very much the same patterning here, the DOI seal of the eagle. The big change here is that in 1936, we go from having a flat badge to a curved badge. So it's minor visually, but with dating them in the collection, that's very important.
Ah, right, okay. So,
so that's
this
a flat
one's totally
one.
flat.
And this is a curved one. And that just was more visually stood out on a uniform when it was pinned.
That is really cool.
Yep. And then the next kind of visual change that's really important for dating is in 1960, the eagle starts facing the opposite way.
Oh.
So they just slightly changed the Department of Interior seal at that point. And then you see the modern day one. So we switched to the bison.
Bison, sorry.
That's the bison. And these are both the same. I just pulled them so you can see kind of the difference in finish and manufacturing. And that's really what this project is looking at, trying to get those nuances and see if the science data can give more information.
I see. So you're interested in, these are identical, but they have very different finishes. So could they have different manufacturing process, different coating processes, et cetera?
Exactly.
And that matters to you both historically, but also, I'm sure, for conservation needs.
Yep, exactly. So that we can do our best to preserve them, and knowing what they're made out of is a big part of that.
Phenomenal.
And then kind of just full circle back to the story of who's wearing them. At this point in 1970 to present day, this is one badge for all uniformed personnel. So this is what you see out in the parks today.
That is really neat.
And then with that point, the one change, the one differential is you see law enforcement. So LE does have a separate badge that comes in 1994.
Okay.
And then just a couple fun ones. We have the Millennium and the Centennial of the National Park Service.
I was wondering what the significance was. The arrowhead shield is so beautiful.
Yeah. So occasionally we do get a special edition that's still a uniform standard, but is not the traditional badge.
You said off camera that one of your very first jobs here at National Parks was working on a badge exhibit.
Yeah, so I started here 5 years ago as an intern, and one of the first things we did was put in a badge exhibit down at the Department of the Interior, actually kind of in the waiting room of the director's office.
Oh,
so when people would kind of get to learn about the history and see the badges while they were.
Was that a comprehensive historical look like this of badges throughout the ages, or was it, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was. It was bigger than this. We had them all mounted on individual little mounts and in cases. And it told the history of chronologically, but also then the stories that tells, kind of things about the changing of how people, the differential between the badges, what they meant, and how it changed over time.
I'm curious, look, a lot of people in the world might think the difference between national park badges doesn't sound that interesting. But it is absolutely fascinating. I'm curious if that's, when you're working on that as the first exhibit, are you starting to see oh, I see what I like about this place?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Like everything in this collection, they really have a lot of untold stories.
Right.
So you kind of start with the chronology, and then you learn a lot more about the nuance of the historic record and those sort of evolutionary changes. We were calling the exhibit the means of distinction. So that goes back to what the badge, it says that in original, standards, and the idea that it was the sign of authority. So that gets into the interesting in the early days where you'd wear a badge without a uniform, but you still had the authority and who was wearing the different uniforms and badges. And it tells kind of the story of inclusivity and how that changes throughout.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the samples you've assembled here?
So the samples here are for the project we're doing with the XRF, so X-ray fluorescence spectrometry. And it's really exciting because that's a tool that's used to find the elemental composition of items.
This is a thing you can point at this and it'll tell you what the metal compositions, can it tell you what the coating is and what's underneath?
Yeah, so that has to do with the interpretation. So it often comes up in the literature, we like to say it's 10% data and 90% interpretation.
Gotcha.
So you have to be very cognizant of what the tool can tell you and what its limitations are.
I literally was picturing in the movies where you put it and it goes beep, and it goes 10% this, 5%
Well, it does
this.
that.
Oh, it does?
It does that. We'll definitely do that. It does that, but it only does it at the surface level and at the spot that you're testing.
Okay.
So you have to understand kind of what you're looking at when you look at the data that comes out.
So in order to do that, do you bring badges of known composition and see what those numbers are and compare them against the
Yes,
the ones you
in some ways.
tested?
So we're kind of trying to create that that database ourselves. So we have historic sources that we're starting with, and we're trying to confirm that data or add to it. So badges are really interesting because they're kind of very hard to date in some ways, because as you can see, there hasn't been a whole lot of change from 1920 through present day. There is change, but a lot of badges were worn for many years at a time. They may not have great provenience when they were accessioned into the collection about which years that person may have worn them rather than that person's whole career. We have a little bit of some outdated literature that we're trying to sort through and update. So it's a matter of kind of taking what people and our predecessors have gathered, kind of fact-checking that against the historic record. Fortunately, we have the archives here too in the NPS history collection. So we're looking at things like uniform standards, contract specifications, and then taking the data we're finding here and trying to contextualize it to get a bigger picture.
And the X-ray machine allows you to, sorry to call it just the X-ray machine.
That's okay.
It allows you to do this testing non-destructively.
Exactly. That is like the key point. It is non-invasive, non-destructive. It does no harm to the collection. So it's an amazing tool to have access to.
All right. And so that tool is being used to give you information on this range of badges?
Yes. So we're working on our way through doing analysis on all the badges. Collecting that data. We're mid-process, so these are kind of our preliminary results, and the ones here I've pulled are ones that tell interesting stories or may have been surprising. So these two I've pulled if we would like to test them as examples when the reading comes back very cleanly. So it has a known grade ID library within the machine. So if you get a match to that, which is linked to the unified numbering system for metals and alloys, you get a really great reading, and it gives you the number, the readout, and it's very solid information. So this one's quite interesting. This is one of those early special police badges, and it comes back very cleanly as C210, which is gilding metal, which is also interesting because the common names don't necessarily match the compositions. So gilding metal would kind of make you think gold.
I would, because gilding is a gold process,
it's a brass.
Brass, okay. So a gilding metal means brass?
I learned that too.
Fascinating.
So this one is brass, and that specific brass is actually very commonly used to make badges. So that makes a lot of sense. It matches the time period. It also matches our records. So
and when you say brass, brass is an alloy of several metals, copper and tin and some other stuff. And when you say a type of brass, it's like the brass of that composition was used for badges.
Exactly. So brass is a copper alloy with zinc being the main other element. And this percentage, which comes out to be around 94% copper and 5% zinc, is that specific gilding metal alloy.
Got it.
So that's a really great reading to take a look at on the machine.
It's monolithically the same material. Oh, I see. So if it's brass and then it's coated with some other metal, you're not going to get a single clean reading.
Exactly.
You're going to get some okay.
So these are kind of like the starter ones where you can you can really see what the machine is telling you pretty clearly.
Okay, and so this one.
And that's very similar. This one is in all of our historic records supposed to be nickel-plated German silver, and the results come out very much as German silver.
Just German silver?
And again, German silver has no silver in it. That's really one of the mysteries we're trying to figure out, because in the past, a lot of times when people are cataloging or even writing some of the history books on these, people often record what they see. So it might say silver, but it doesn't actually have a silver content.
That just means shiny metal.
Yes.
So is German silver nickel?
It is. It's copper, nickel, and zinc are the main components of German silver.
So that's like, so it's an alloy sort of like brass that gives them a silver finish.
Exactly. So those are the main ones we see in this collection when you're not looking at gold or silver itself. So the ones that are kind of mimicking those characteristics of color are brass or German silver. Okay,
so I see what you're saying about interpretation, because you can then look at some other things. You can look at commensurate badges of the same period and realize, they're not going to go way off the field with their metal choices.
Exactly. And then looking at the contract specifications and trying to see what was ordered, what was made. Are there any differences?
You have all those records.
Yes.
Oh my God, that must be really fun to go back and find an original order form.
It is
for
very
badges.
fun. We're still working on it. We're looking at one from 1922 right now, which is quite exciting.
Fascinating.
And then I guess if we're talking about the German silver, we can look at these two down here, which is almost the opposite story.
Okay.
So in all the literature, we
look
have
at all these different
nickel-plated German silver.
That's what they say it is.
That's what they say. It's a little suspicious just looking at it.
Right, there's a high degree amount of tarnish.
Exactly, which is generally seen on silver items. And when we do the analysis, they are about 92% silver.
Gotcha.
So they are a silver alloy that isn't exact, but is very close to being sterling silver. And this is one we want to do some more research on the history side of things, because it's quite interesting. We're using silver when we thought it would be German silver. So generally silver is more expensive, a nicer material. I want to do a little bit more research. It's the time period. They're in the 1930s. And there was actually a dip in silver prices at the Great Depression.
Oh, so then they could just go use it.
And there was actually an act in 1934 that kind of rectifies that and brings silver prices back up. So that would put these at the early, if that was relevant, at the early or end of the period they were used and they were made. So that's something we're working on right now. But that was an exciting result because it was a confirmation that the visual didn't necessarily match the record.
And you said these two were part of this. Was this also the same kind of thing?
Yeah, we have quite a few of these in the collection, but we're having the same results across the board.
Gotcha. Tell me about
these two? Okay, so these are exciting. These tell a story really well about how XRF works as well. So we kind of got into talking about how it only takes a surface reading. So you can see the change in color on these. And these are historically meant to be gold-plated German silver. And you can see how the plate has begun to wear off in places.
It seems to be wearing off in the low spots.
Yeah, this is often from polishing. So, because it's the front of the badge where it would have been pinned, you polish it to keep it shiny.
You went all the way through the plate.
And you wear the plate off.
But that gives you a place to read from.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
So the machine itself, it has just a 3 millimeter sample size. So it's a very small sample, and on a shape like this, it can be hard. You want it to be as flat as possible to get a good contact. And these have variable shapes. So often the best contact is right in the middle, actually. You can kind of get like the eagle's head.
Oh, wow.
Right at that raised point. It's the highest point on the badge. So we took the readings on the front there, and it's interesting, you get no gold.
No gold.
No gold, which visually kind of makes sense.
It totally
It's been
does,
worn off, but when you flip them over, we took readings on the back as well. And where they haven't been polished and used as much, you get the gold.
You get the gold.
So even though when you take the first result on the front with no gold, given the back results in the historic literature, it does make sense. It matches that you'd have a gold plate over German silver.
All right, so what about these guys?
Yes, so these two are also kind of helping us solve a curatorial mystery. These are also something that was unexpected. So they are visually the same badge. We know that the gold round badges were used in two different distinct time periods, from 1921 to 1928 and 1936 to 1960. So it would be very interesting if we could, through testing all of them, see a material difference that might delineate the two time periods.
Sure, and this gold goes away because of the stock market crash.
Right,
it's 1928.
It's possible.
Also, they're different warmths of gold. Right? There's a color variation between them.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the mystery you're trying to solve?
So when we did the analysis on both, only one of these badges has gold. The shinier, brighter one that we would imagine gold is brass.
Oh, no way. This is...
Yes.
Wow. So when you say gold, it's not gold all the way through?
No. It is gold and brass. Gold over German silver is what our analysis says. Our original catalog records said gold and brass. So we were able to kind of pinpoint not brass, it's German silver, we think.
Okay.
And we'll continue to do more historic research on that. And currently, the literature says it's gold filled, which is just thicker than plating.
Oh, so gold filled means a coating, that's thicker than...
It got me too. It's not inside filled, it is coated on the outside. Yeah, the filled, I feel like with this, this batch, all the words, the colloquial words kind of mean the opposite of what...
Hilarious. That's really funny. German silver has no silver. Gold filled means not in the inside.
Yes, and we did find a higher percentage of gold than you would imagine with plating.
Oh, interesting.
So that does match.
Fascinating. They were using a higher quality.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, that one we're going to be digging deeper into, obviously comparing it to the rest of the round gold badges in the collection and seeing, and interesting enough, the one that has gold is from the later date period as far as we know so far.
So does that help you date this, or does it help you know when they were plating with gold? Like, do you know exactly the date this is from, or does the knowing that it's not actually gold help you know when it's from?
That's what we're hoping. So right now with this one, we don't know exactly where it's from, but we know those 2 time periods that they were in use. So comparing them to the other badges, which might have more provenience brought down, if it has the same material as the ones with more distinct known dates, we might be able to make some sort of correlations there.
That makes so much sense. Oh, that's cool. So over time, as you build more data and you have some I want to say coins, some badges that you know more about, that'll help you cross-reference and build a timeline.
Yes, so we're in the middle of the process now.
That's thrilling.
But we have a big spreadsheet, and it has all of the science. We export it from our collections database system, so it has what we began with, and then we have all the add-ons from the XRF analysis, the new archival analysis, everything we're finding, and then we'll kind of put it all together.
Now, you guys are doing this for the National Park Service. Are there other conservation departments in other parts of the world that are doing research that is along similar lines where you guys can share information? Is there an international consortium of conservators sharing information?
I mean, yes, there's a lot of the professional community for conservation. AIC is big, the American Institute for Conservation. So we're definitely in contact with other professionals in the field. We've kind of just started this project, so it's a great idea to look into any other like badge projects that have been done, or looking at the military collections, because there's a lot of similar materials and manufacturers there. That actually kind of is interesting because the last one has a lot to do with manufacturing. So I'm looking forward to learning more about the company that made this one, which would be a great place to look for other research that's been done.
This is so beautiful. The typeface there is absolutely gorgeous.
And so this one's interesting. Actually, if you're looking at the typeface, that one says Park Guard.
Yes.
So there's a small time period that starts in the 40s where you get a little bit more differentials in the wording. Most of them say Park Ranger. We get Guard, Warden, and Park Ranger at that time period.
What were the reasons for the name differences? We don't know?
I'm sure we do in the record, but I'd have to go check that one.
No worries.
At the time period why that decision was made.
It's not required for you to know the entire history of the National Park Service badge policies. But what are you trying to determine with this one?
So this one was a surprise one. So this one came out with a toxic element we weren't expecting. So
I would assume lead.
It was not lead.
It's not lead, because lead's always what they're throwing into zinc to make faster.
We actually haven't found lead yet, which has been surprising.
That's really, what dangerous metal? Uranium?
Nope. Cadmium.
Cadmium. Oh, wow. Mildly radioactive, is it?
Yes. Okay. It is toxic. It is a heavy metal. And it's interesting, it's not the first cadmium find we've had from this era in this building on other projects. So when you're talking about kind of that collaboration, I wasn't necessarily expecting it here. You can't see any active corrosion that would give it away. But
does cadmium's corrosion turn red?
No, it turns bright neon green.
Bright green?
Yeah, it's bright green.
The other side of the color spectrum. Okay.
It does look radioactive.
So do you know why cadmium would be part of that?
Yeah, so we're working on that, but it is at the right time period. So in the 1930s is where you really start to see cadmium using at an industrial scale in the United States. Usually it is used more with steel, and it's definitely for anti-corrosion. But the period when it's made in the 1930s is kind of the height of that new technology.
There's a lot of cadmium around. People are finding ways to use it.
That's how it seems. So this one manufacturer that we're finding it at, the American Emblem Company, that's the only manufacturer we're seeing with cadmium in our collection. And it's quite consistent across the board. So that will be a good bit of research to kind of track down exactly. If we could find a contract with them, that would be fantastic.
That's so neat. Can you show me how the machine works?
Yes.
All right, so talk to me about the safety of this. This is an open X-ray beam coming out of the front here, but probably at very low low intensity.
Correct. So it's completely off right now, so we can take a look at the machine. This is a portable XRF, which is obviously fantastic in the sense that we can take it anywhere. You can test anything. So it does emit low energy X-rays. The way it does that, the X-ray tube is made of rhodium. So that's that. And it has many safety features. So first of all, it does detect the sample in the window. So the window is here, and it has a protective like polypropylene film, which is very thin. It is 0.004 millimeters, or 4 micrometers.
Yeah, 4 microns. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it's very thin. That's these are really quite sturdy. That's one of the few maintenance things to pay attention to, is that you want to make sure it is always completely intact.
Gotcha.
Because if any debris gets inside, that can damage the X-ray tube. So that's one of the things when you take it out, you check, you make sure your window's okay. You can replace them simply. So it detects your sample, and if it detects no sample, it will not release X-rays. Which is nice.
Okay.
And it's even a bit fancier than that. It counts the X-ray count continuously. So if you're taking a reading and it gets too low, it will shut off, assuming that there's no sample in front of it. So the way it works is that when the X-rays meet the material, they interact with the matter, and each element then fluoresces an X-ray back at it. So if there's no emissions coming back to the machine, it assumes there's no sample and will turn off, preventing backscatter.
That's really cool. I mean, these are all things I would want in a handheld X-ray.
And then the last thing here is you'll see these will light up red when the X-rays are running.
Okay.
And it has kind of a fail-safe that if 2 of the red LED elements aren't working, it will not emit an X-ray.
Oh, if it can't light those up.
So it will not work if it's not warning you that it's using the X-rays.
Awesome.
And then the most important thing to know is that the X-rays come out the window, so straight and then mostly at a 45-degree angle.
Okay.
So the rule is that when you're using it, no one stands in front of it.
So our cameraman will put it on a tripod and he'll go stand behind us.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Yep. So no one stands in front or kind of like in a kind of like
we don't want to expose Joey to
shape.
X-rays.
No, we
that's
don't.
Bad.
That would be bad. So yeah, when you're using it properly, it is safe for the people who are using it. There's a warning that you agree to use it properly with radiation.
I've been given the whole lowdown.
And then it comes up to show us what application we're using. So we have it already set to alloys 2 to be doing metal analysis.
Gotcha. So you let it know the range it's going to be looking at.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And then we're good to go.
Okay.
So you want to line up the window where you're testing as flat as possible. And then you stand behind it and pull the trigger. And it takes like 30 seconds or so.
So it's built so that its danger zone is all ahead of it. So as long as you've cleared the area in front of you.
Exactly, directly ahead, and then just to be safe, kind of at an angle.
Gotcha.
So if you put your arms kind of out in a triangle, you don't want anybody in that zone.
In that cone of, gotcha.
And then we beep again.
And it already gives a reading.
Yeah, so that's an exciting feature about this machine, is that we have this quick kind of read feature, which is fantastic.
I can just only imagine how much, I mean, you guys deal in information, and to be able to get that information from a handheld machine that quickly is kind of magic.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it makes our life a lot easier when you're trying to kind of get quick understanding. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing that we can quickly throw into a spreadsheet and be able to like kind of think about and ponder, and then when you want to get deeper into the analysis, you can export these files to a software on the computer and really get into the nitty-gritty of the like spectral analysis.
Oh, fascinating.
So there are some things with XRF that need a little bit more analysis than you get right off the bat, but this kind of gives you a snapshot, and then you can dive into those concerns later and really kind of go through the data.
That is so cool. And I'm looking at the copper and the zinc, and I'm like, I could tell you that's brass.
Yeah, it's great. So you see right here in the readout, that's the clean reading we got with C210 telling us it's gilding metal. You always get here the elements that are present. We have ours set to percentages. It also has the capability to do parts per million.
Oh, okay.
And then you get your statistical margin of error on the side here, the plus minus.
Gotcha.
And then this one, because we did get a match, you get to see the minimum and maximum for that metal in the library.
Gotcha.
And it's highlighted in green because it fits perfectly between the two.
Amazing.
So that's kind of as good as it gets.
Dude, that is so thrilling.
And then just to kind of give you a sneak peek of what the additional analysis would look if you wanted to take this the next step to the software is what you'd be looking at is the spectrum. So this is where the characteristic emissions are captured and read, and that's the information that the computer is then computing to the nice table.
Casey, I'm so gobsmacked by how deep this rabbit hole goes. It's really, really beautiful.
It does go pretty deep. We haven't gotten into even the spectral analysis.
No, I know,
That's
I know.
a whole, and when you get really, really deep, you need a conservation scientist, which is a whole other profession.
And they come in and layer on all sorts of things onto your Excel sheet.
I wish, but fortunately we have kind of, with the alloys especially, this machine works fantastically with inorganics. It's a little bit less complicated. When you get into organics and lighter elements, the science can get a little bit more complicated.
Fair. Totally amazing. Thank you so much for showing this to me.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. One of my favorite things we make in our tested store are demerit badges. These are like scout badges, but for screwing stuff up, because screwing up is not just a part of the making process, it is intrinsic to it, and we like to celebrate that. We've got 27 so far in the supervisors bundle that you can go buy right now by clicking on the link in the description, but we also have a booster pack of some brand new patches. This is the demerit badge for burning off your eyebrow. I am proudly sewing that to all of my clothes. This is the demerit badge for having a messy workbench, which I do not get today. My workbench is super clean. And we have new octagonal patches that are, merit badges. This is the merit badge for sweeping up your shop. Congratulations, I'm so proud of you. And this, oh my God, this is great. This is the merit badge for creating a clean space on your bench. Hey, we got to take our successes where they come and meet them there. Go to the tested-store.com or adamsavage.com to buy any of these, or click on a link in the description.